If you feel like you're constantly thinking about where your next client is coming from, even when you're not working, even when you're trying to switch off, that's not a motivation problem. And it's not a discipline problem. It's actually a system problem. And more specifically, it's a lead generation problem because this is one of the most quietly draining parts of running a business that most of us have to endure. Not because it's difficult, but because it's constant. It never really stops. And even when you've secured a client, you already know that you've got to start looking for the next one. There's always this background thought of, who should I be speaking to? Have I done enough today? Should I be reaching out more? What if this slows down when you've had a steady flow of clients coming through? You see, even if things are going well, the pressure never fully disappears. It just softens slightly and then it comes back again. And what I've noticed, especially working with women who are running their own businesses, is that this is often the layer that quietly creates the most exhaustion. It's not the client work, it's not the delivery, it's the uncertainty around what comes next. Because when that part feels unstable, everything else feels heavier. Now, if I had to start again with my business, knowing everything that I know now, this would be the first thing that I would fix. Not content, not branding, not even sales per se, lead generation. Because once that becomes consistent, everything else starts to settle and feel a bit more manageable. And I don't mean more leads, I mean reliable quality leads, predictable, expected, already handled. Because there's a huge difference between I need to find clients today and I know I have people for me to speak to today. That difference alone changes how you show up in your business. It changes how you think. It changes how you make your decisions. It changes how you feel. And that's exactly what I've been seeing during this beta phase that I have been running. Because the Connection Scout has been running quietly in the background, doing one job. That's it, just one job. Finding aligned people for my clients to connect with. And what's interesting is not just that it works, it's interesting in what it removes, because it removes the need to think about where leads are coming from. And when that thought disappears, something else opens up. You get clarity, space, presence, because instead of constantly scanning for those opportunities, you're actually able to focus on the people in front of you that are interested in you and your business. And that's where things start to feel very different. Now, this is where I want to be really clear, because automation here is not about replacing effort. It's about removing repetition. And there is a difference, because the actual conversations, the way you connect with someone, the way you understand them, respond to them, that still benefits massively from being human. And that's the really obvious thing that has been showing up clearly this week. Because alongside the system that I've got running, I've also launched the Conversations into Clients guide, and it's been landing incredibly well. The feedback, honestly, sometimes has been quite emotional because people aren't being turned into robots. They're being supported in how they communicate. They're feeling more confident, more natural, more themselves. And that's exactly where automation should stop. So what you end up building is not an automated business, but a supported one. One where your lead generation is handled, the pressure is reduced, but the human connection remains intact. And that combination is powerful because now you're not chasing, you're not forcing, and you're not scrambling to do enough. You're simply showing up to conversations that are already there and open for you. And that, well, that changes everything. Now, the reason I'm talking about this so openly this week is because I'm right on the edge of opening this up publicly. But I've also made a very deliberate decision, and I'm only going to take on 5 clients this month. Not because the system can't handle more, it can. I'm doing this because I want the experience to be right. I want the people to feel the shift immediately. The people I work with, I want them to feel that relief and that shift straight away, to wake up and not have to think about leads anymore, to actually experience what it feels like to be supported by a system that just quietly does its job. Because once you feel that, you don't want to go back. And that's the level I'm interested in building at. It's not volume. I'm not going to scale just for the sake of it, just because my systems can. I'm looking for depth of impact. So if you're currently in a place where you're constantly thinking about where your next client is coming from, that's not something you should just push through. It's something you need to solve. And the solution isn't more effort. It's better support. Because once that layer is handled, everything else becomes easier. Not perfect, not effortless, but lighter. And that, I think, is the goal for most of us. So if this is something you're feeling right now, just take a moment and notice. How often are you thinking about leads in a day? Because if it's frequent, that's your signal. That is your pressure point, and that's where the systems should go to support you. Now, if you enjoy this kind of calm, practical thinking about running your business, then make sure you subscribe to my channel, because this is exactly what I explore here each and every week. And if this particular content resonates with you, well, I've created something to help you start building the kind of business to support you without overwhelm. You'll find the link for that in my bio. Furthermore, if this particular topic has really interested you, I've created a full series on calm AI systems for business, and you can watch the next video in that series, which will be coming up in just a moment. And keep your eyes peeled, because I will be looking to take on my first 5 clients for this month. So you'll see details on that coming up soon as well.